Hello and welcome back to another episode of It's Always Scummy in Plymouth. Coming up on the show, we're talking about Plymouth Albion's first pre-season game, which was away at Swansea Rugby Club, and a lot of business has been happening across National League One. Many teams recruiting new stars. Has Scrummy's predictions from last week changed? Yes, the rule book has been torn up by many a team, and we'll be going over all those changes that could be affecting National League One coming up. Welcome back, everybody. So, second episode of the second series. It was a long one last week, and much has happened since then. As I sort of previously stated, many teams across the National League One have announced their squads and a few more additions, and it looks like a few more clubs are making additions as well. And I'm going to go through those with you guys. But yeah, really exciting. Albion had finally their first pre-season game of the season, which was away at sunny Swansea, and I was really looking forward to this one, and it did not fail to deliver. You may be impressed by the sound quality of this, but that's because I've moved up in the world here. I've got new microphones for this, and I just want to do a big thank you to friends over at Putnam's Pillows and Wellness who have donated me these microphones. Big fans of the show and really appreciate it, guys. So thank you. So yeah, check them out, guys. If you need a pillow or anything for sleep and wellness, give Putnam's a try. But yeah, fantastic. Really appreciate that. I'm hopefully gonna have lots of fun with these over the coming season. And yes, yeah. So made the trip to sunny Swansea. It was great to see familiar faces make the trip up. I spoke to many fans and spoke to many of the players as well, which is great to have a good old catch up after a long summer break. What first thing I just really want to point out too, so some familiar faces that I was chatting to, a big Plymouth Albion fan, arguably the biggest Plymouth Albion fan I've really spoken to, a chap called Andrew Stocker. You may know him, you may recognise him. He works at St John's Ambulance for a lot of the home games, but having a good old catch up with him, he is really who I identify as Mr. Plymouth Albion, and he was talking about how he had volunteered over the summer and painted the clubhouse and did a few other bits and pieces. The club had put out a post saying, could we have volunteers? And just a really, if you're one of those people, just a really big, well done, guys. I'm looking forward to this weekend, to seeing all the handy work that hardcore committed fans like Andrew have put to the test. I do need my place painted myself. Maybe I might do a scrummy post of could we have some volunteers come paint my house? But yeah, on a serious note, big game this weekend. Plymouth Albion are at home to Cornish Pirates. I'm really looking forward to what these fantastic hardcore fans have done, which is purely volunteering. And yeah, if you're there at the game, guys, and you get to see, I know Andrew, as I said, does work for St John's. Make sure you go sort of say thank you and have a chat with him. Really knows all of his Albion's knowledge, and he should probably be doing this podcast really rather than me. But yeah, make sure you show your gratitude to what a fantastic member of the club he is. So yeah, made the trip to Swansea, and I was seriously excited. I was seriously excited. I was probably giddy. I couldn't sleep the night before. It felt like being a child again. I've just, since all the new signings are coming, I could not wait to see the guys getting down to action. And actually, before all this, there was a new signing was announced as well, which was named amongst the squad for the day. So Charlie Crawley, new addition for the Plymouth Albion squad. Doing a little bit of background research into Charlie. He has a background of, he's played for Esher at hooker, and looking at some posts about him, he is described as a quick and dynamic front row who scored many a try for Esher down in National League 2. More recently, he has featured for the Royal Marines in back row, and recently played against the Medics at the Brickfields at number 8 and scored a try and was man of the match. So another addition, but yeah, another one in the back row. We're looking pretty stacked back there. So yeah, this Swansea game, the Albion squad, we had a first half team and then we also had a second half team. But the first thing that sprung to my attention was no Iwan Jenkins within the match day squad. So I had a bit of a panic. I dropped him a message saying, I hope you're not injured. And he did get back to me. He was saying that he's had a bit of a minor thumb injury, but should be all good going forward. And actually caught up with Iwan as well. If you've not had a chance to chat to Iwan, incredibly nice guy. I'm not just saying that as a really nice, friendly guy. I'm sure if you see him at the games, go have a chat to him. Incredibly friendly and genuinely nice man. So go say hi to him. Lovely guy. But I was chatting to him, and he was saying as well that actually at the end of last season, he was still contracted with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs obviously made it the Prem final. So he actually had a longer season. So Ryan Lamb was given a bit more time off. So he's missed a bit of the preseason as well. So he will be back hopefully next week. He's got a bit of a dodgy thumb, but he said he would not be missing next week's game. He'll be just getting it strapped up if needs be. But yes, looking at the squad for the day, we had James Kenny, new signing in the front row, along with Harry Wilkinson and Dan Pullinger. So familiar, but also a nice little sprinkle of new player there. Second row looking very different. We have got Morgan Eames and then Hugh Taylor. Hugh Taylor did a bit at second row last season, but also played a lot in the back row. Then we had Angus Hodges, Sam Daly, new addition, and Ben Moe in the back row. Then scrum half, Morgan Stone, Harry Legg filling in at fly half for the injured Iwan Jenkins. Noah Fent on the wing, then Archie Hill at inside centre, Chris Preen, new addition at outside centre. Then we had Oscar Stewart on the wing and Bobby Winton fullback. And then second half completely changed. So second half, we were having Liam Bishop, Max Surrey, who was listed down as a prop, but he was at hooker, and Harvey Cortese. Jake Clemson in the second row back from injury, and then Hudson Edkins. Wasn't aware of him being in the squad. I did a quick bit of research. I think he is, he's part of the Exeter Chiefs Academy, so don't know if he was just filling in for this preseason game, or he could be a potential loan addition. Not too sure. New signing Charlie Crawley, as just mentioned. Jake Bond back amongst the mix. Angus Hodges moved back into number 8. Then we had our captain from last season, one of our captains from last season, Jack Alton at scrum half. Ben Saunders at fly half. Morgan Stone moving from scrum half onto the wing. Chris Preen moving from outside centre into inside centre. Jack Staton outside centre. Bobby Wington moving from fullback to the wing. And then we had Henry Selleck. So completely different change there. So going into this game, I was really in fan mode, really. I didn't want to make loads of notes, so I just wanted to sort of vibe it, And actually doing this and going to the game, I couldn't help actually really, and I sort of really overanalyzed it, my feelings towards this game. And actually, Jenkins not being available really, really hurt, actually. And you just look at the team sheet, and it is a big void there. And actually, then watching the rest of the game, and it's a big void, as I said. And actually, it just makes you really think of, well, first of all, what a fantastic player, which we already know, but actually, what a fantastic player that you go, oh, this team just isn't the same. It just doesn't have that identity when he's not there. He is such a big player. And by him not being available, it kind of makes you really realize how big that void is. And it just didn't feel like Plymouth Albion, like the Plymouth Albion I was watching last season. It just didn't feel it. And it just got me thinking that. And we'll go into a bit more detail in a second. But, Harry Legg had a good game, from what he played at fly half, but he's just not Iwan Jenkins, and it just really hammers home what a superstar player he is for us. So the game had a very, very preseason feel. So Albion came out the box pretty quick on a 3G pitch, but they didn't sort of finish off their chances, and Swansea got a couple of tries, and then Albion sort of got into their rhythm. You saw actually a lot of these big guys, the new additions, how they were big ball carriers and just in and around the rucks, made some meters, scored a few tries. I think it was 14 each at half time. And then the second half, it completely changed and things just got a bit manic. But from the second half, you got a lot of young guys there and it was just really good. You got Jack Alton in amongst all that, just showing his class really, and just was the glue for everything and kept things going. So he looks like he's had a good break. had a bit of an injury towards the end of last season, and it looks like he's come back fresh and raring to go. To go through the new additions, I think that's really the main focus of all a preseason game. That's why I was there. I really want to see the new guys. First news addition we'll look at then. James Kenny, front row. That guy is a monster. Okay, so keep an eye out him for this Cornish Pirates game. That guy is a complete monster. He is huge. Okay, so just before all this, I actually Googled the 5 largest land carnivores, and we've got a black bear, a lion, a tiger, a brown bear, then a polar bear. They're the top 5. Whoever made that list isn't aware of James Kenny. Okay, so in my opinion, James Kenny is probably we had a tiger, but maybe not quite a brown bear. So actually, that list should be lion, tiger, James Kenny, brown bear, polar bear. Okay, I cannot put how much emphasis on what a massive guy he is. I don't know what he is eating, but he is massive. But actually, it's really focusing on that guy's been a professional rugby player for many a year, and he's coming down to Nat 1 in this semi-professional league. And actually, these guys really have a huge impact because they're just built differently. We saw that with Corey Barrett last season, just towards the back of last season. He was just a massive unit. James Kenny is huge. Harry Wilkinson's a big guy, but when you see James Kenny on the pitch, he absolutely dwarfs him. He is absolutely a monstrosity of a man. He is huge. So looking at it gets you proper excited. It got me thinking about, actually, I'm sure many of you watch Premiership rugby or international rugby. It got me thinking about how Bath utilised for a couple of seasons Thomas du Toit. And he's been Prem top try scorer for a couple of seasons. And that really sort of changed the league in English rugby in the Prem. Actually, people going, wow, a prop being a top try scorer. And Thomas du Toit, I think he got towards the back end of last season, he had 3 games on the trot where he scored a hat-trick. Just because Bath, when they got near that try line, that's when Thomas du Toit was like, I'm size. He will score those tries when the rock are really close to that try line because of his sheer size and his sheer power. I'm really hoping that Albion utilised James Kenny the same way that Bath utilised Thomas du Toit in the Prem. Because of this sheer size, it's going to be a lethal weapon. It got me thinking, actually, about the Rotherham game, away to Rotherham that Albion just missed out on. When actually, Rotherham, sizable team, when Albion were pushing to get that drop goal towards the end, they kind of weren't making the meters up. And actually, in quite a few games, sail away as well, when they had a lot of the possession towards the end to get that try at the end. It didn't really have that massive unit that just could make meters from absolutely anywhere. And James Kenny did that on several occasions. He sort of did a few breakthroughs and actually had hands to sort of lay it off to another player as well. So he is going to be a really key player moving forward and actually ultimately really exciting. And another thing, key things for props, scrummaging, of course. We know what Dan Pullinger's like, and we know what, Harry Wilkinson, all those guys like. Scrum looked really solid for Albion. Like, Kenny was killing his opposite man, and Pully does what he does as well. So that there is a huge statement signing from Albion, which we knew was going to be the case, but to see him in person out on that pitch doing that against Swansea, absolute unit, brilliant signing. Looking forward to seeing how he gets on against Cornish Pirates this weekend coming up. Moving on, another new signing that made the starting lineup, Morgan Eames, second row. The biggest comment I could say about his performance really was I didn't feel we missed Freddie Stevenson whatsoever. Actually, I'd be tempted to say that I had the feeling that Morgan Eames, just from 1.5 performance, feels like a bit of an upgrade. I just felt like he was doing more. Like he did a charge down. The line out felt so smooth as well. Like Freddie Stevenson was a fantastic line out jumper, but we did have issues. And again, this is just one game. This is one half of rugby. But the line out, there was just something about it. It just felt so smooth. It didn't feel like they were overthinking things. It didn't feel robotic. It just happened. And it was just looked so easy. And again, a huge credit to Hugh Taylor, who's also in second row. We've got two experienced guys now who are going to be involved that line out. But Morgan Eames, it just looked easy. He's very sort of identifiable with his long, glorious mullet and his beard. But you could just see him like out around the pitch doing bits. He just looked very busy. I think he's played a little bit in the back row, and that probably comes out in his style of play that where he's been in terms of being really busy. But the line out just looked really smooth. So again, from pre-season, scrum looked fantastic, like dominate the scrum, and then line out looked fantastic. I'm looking 2 ticks there, chuffed a bit of that, and that's just the first pre-season game. In the back row, Sam Daly. Obviously, Albion fans are very familiar with Sam Daly. When Albion were losing 14-0, he had a little bit of a cheeky dig at someone, and there was a little bit of handbags going on. I thought, do you know what? Yeah, I like that. He's got a bit nasty there. He's got a bit frustrated, even though it's just a pre-season game. And again, he made a few breaks. I think he scored a try actually as well. But you just saw the sheer size, ball carrying, breaking through tackles. And again, going back to that James Kenny comment about how actually, those games against Rotherham and Sale, we've got another guy there who can break tackles and make meters. He will be near a try line, he'll sniff things, and he did that on several occasions. So again, his size, it's just an upgrade on what we've had from the seasons before. And then the one I've been really excited to see, new addition in the back line, Chris Preen, who started at outside centre. Again, common theme I'm saying here, big guy, big guy in the backs as well. I for this game actually, I got to the game really early. I was down pitch sides like an hour before kickoff. Because many of you listening to this podcast will be aware I am a school teacher. Like at the start of a school year, you'll get students turn up, like little year 7s turn up, and they're so nervous about being late to lessons. So you'll get kids during lunchtime rock up to your lessons about 15 minutes early, and you're like, and I'll be as a teacher like, oh no, the bell will go away, get some fresh air, make sure you get some water, have a break, see your friends, and come back. Don't worry, you don't be late. I was kind of that guy for this. I was there, first one down there. I wanted to see Chris Preen in the warm-up. I was just really excited to see. I wanted to see how big he was. I wanted to see just what he was. And in the warm-up, actually, when they were doing the passing drills, there's a couple of times he received passes that were quite low down. And he then I thought, okay, he caught it low down and then just out the back pocket, And I thought, okay, big guy, but smooth hands, just little things that you pick up in the warm-ups. And I thought straight away there, I was like, class. He's a classy player, okay? And just again, the sheer size of him. I was surprised to see him playing outside centre, but I do know he's got experience of playing outside centre. But again, what it got me really thinking with Chris Preen, and actually the first half, as I said, the scrum was impressive, the line-out was impressive. It just didn't click in the backs. And again, that's because of that missing void of Jenkins. And to go back to my previous thing about how much of a void he is, watching the preseason game here, you're looking at, first half, second half, Ryan Lamb's spoken about players putting their hands up and trying to get into that big game next year for Cornish Pirates. Players putting their hands up before starting. And I was there watching it going, oh, which players link up? Archie Hill started inside centre because when Harry Legg played a lot of fly half, that was his guy. So that's there for familiarity, I would assume. And again, then seeing Bobby Whittington at fullback and Oscar Stewart on the wing, it just got me thinking, really, actually, forget about combinations or whatever happens to Swansea. Moving forward for Albion, the whole entire team has got to be built around Jenkins. That's what I've concluded from that game there. Is the entire team. He's your star guy. It happens in all different sports. You've got your star men and you build a team around them. So actually, I hate to use the F word here, but football. We just had the World Cup. Thomas Tuchel for England, there was players missing from the squad. He built the whole team around the star man, Harry Kane. That was all that. That's got to be the attitude for Albion going forward, is actually building that entire team around Iwan Jenkins, because he's the star man, arguably the best player in the league last season. Okay, arguably the best player in the league last season, and Albion's player of the season. I think he got a few more other awards last season. He is our star man. It just didn't look the same without him. I missed him from an entertainment point of view, but actually just getting the best of the people around him, it just wasn't quite right. So it got me thinking about Chris Preen, really. He's got to be an inside centre. So you're thinking about Jenkins. If you've got a big guy outside him, it's going to take a lot of pressure off him in terms of his creative, because Jenkins can do it all. He can control the game with his kicking game. We know that for sure. And he can also do all the entertaining stuff. And he likes to have the ball. He can fling the ball out wide. He can take it on himself. He likes to do a chip and chase over himself as well. Chris Preen's really got to be inside centre, because that will be a weapon for Iwan Jenkins. Okay, that's the only reason. I'm sure Chris Preen can play outside centre. He's got to be a 12, because that's going to get the best out of, in my opinion, it's going to get the best out of Iwan Jenkins. If you've got a big inside centre, it takes that pressure off Jenkins in terms of he can give him a short pass, quick ruck, get defenders moving backwards, ball gets released out. You've got Jenkins then actually running at or doing things with defenders who are on the back foot. Okay, you've also got, he's got a long pass. If you've got Preen at 12, you've got Oscar Stewart, who's got a winger's pace. I prefer him at outside centre. You've got Jenkins, who can fling out wide, or he can use it as a pivot. And that's, the defenders will be narrow because of Chris Preen. And then that's given people like Fenton, Oscar, as I said, outside centre, giving them space for them to do what they can do best. The whole team, I'll repeat that again, has got to be built around Jenkins. So moving forward for this, what I gathered from this game is Chris Preen's got to be an inside centre moving forward. I don't want to see him outside centre. We had Zach Wimbush last season play a bit outside centre for a few games. For a guy of his size, I just don't get it personally, especially when we've got Oscar Stewart there. So be interesting to see what team is picked for the Cornish Pirates coming forward. But in my opinion, we've got to have Chris Preen at 12, because that's going to get the best out of Jenkins. So second half, many changes, and it was all a bit manic. When you do that and you've got two different teams, both halves, it can all be a bit manic. And it was. And it was one of those kind of, you saw a few players and they're clearly playing to try and impress. And a few things were forced. It wasn't sort of flowing. There'll be long kicks and actually a player should have let it go, but they've tried to catch it to then be able to do something with it. And, foot goes in touch. All those sort of little mistakes are happening. Max Surrey, who's a new addition, started at hooker. Looked completely fine, actually. I'm not aware of him having any experience of playing a hooker. He's a prop, but actually looked a sizable guy and looked mobile and threw well. So that's going to be a really interesting to see if he features maybe a bit more hooker moving forward. Hudson Ekins looked a young lad, okay, and again, and Ben Sharp came off the bench, looked sharp. Jack Staton, who came to outside centre, featured a tiny bit for Albion last season, featured on the wing against the Rams. Looks like he's really bulked up. I've seen videos of him on social media of him doing sprint training and stuff like that. He looks like he's really taking this seriously. So he's one to potentially watch in these games coming forward, because he's really bulked up and he looks a massive unit, and he can play outside centre and also on the wing. And then we had Henry Selleck as well, who I've not really seen a lot of. Looked a really classy player, actually, kicking for touch and many bits and pieces like that. But it just felt like the second half was a bit of a drop in terms of quality, because that first half team looked kind of like one of the strongest teams. Harry Legg went off with what looked like a serious injury. He came off, he was just white as a sheet. But yeah, interesting to see who will be starting a fullback. No Frankie Dart as of yet. Bobby Wigginton started a fullback. He can do a job there, but for me, he's not a fullback. Very direct runner. What I like about Harry is strong in the high ball, but actually, with his footwork, he can beat the first man quite easily and create things. And again, moving forward, if you've got that little bit of Jenkins and you've got the big inside centre, Harry, with his handling and his fly half skills, joining a line, can create lots for people outside him, like Stewart, Fenton, Wingington, etc. So, yeah, Full time, it was 33-33. I posted a few stories keeping the score up to date and made a few mistakes. It was quite a weird one at the very end when Swansea scored a try right at the death, nailed the conversion. Swansea fans are cheering. Albion fans were like cheering as well. I was like, who's won this game? I don't really know what's happened to full time here, but yeah, it's a draw of 33-33. But yeah, much to think about and much to look forward to. Cannot wait for the weekend to see what team is picked against Cornish Pirates and actually just to see how they get on as well. Having a look then across what's been happening in National League One. Last week's episode, I made predictions. So I released the episode, I think it was last Thursday. So released that episode. The very next day, a couple of Nat 1 teams published their squads for the seasons. They hadn't announced any signings. So that was Rosslyn Park and also Tunbridge. So that was quite frustrating and also just very interesting. But it just got me, I had to have a chance to sort of dive in and look at those squads. But I had a few messages from people, a few sort of interesting people really. So from last week's episode, I put out on the socials a few clips of my predictions of teams to look out for the league tables, and it's great that people have responded and actually taken interaction with it and giving me their ideas as well. I really bigged up Albion's summer recruitment. Said it was probably one of the best in Nat 1 history. And I'm going to have to sort of go back into that a bit deeper in a second. But I kind of downplayed London Scottish and Cambridge, and I've really bigged up Rams as well. And Rams aren't on too many people's radars, but I still stand by that claim. But I've had a lot of people big up London Scottish and their recruitment, so I've dived in a little bit deeper and a little look further a bit more into there. But a couple of interesting comments on some of my social media videos. So a familiar face amongst Plymouth Albion fans, and actually just rugby fans. So Plymouth Albion legend Luke Arscott, who I believe is still Ding's head coach as well. So Nat 1 link there. But Luke Arscott, Plymouth Albion, great. And featured also was a great player for Bristol in the Prem and also Exeter Chiefs in the Prem as well. And I think he played for Bath as well. But he responded to my video where I said that Plymouth Albion have done the best summer recruitment in National League One history. And he said that he would argue that Rosslyn Parks is better. So I had to say to him, actually, I recorded this before Rosslyn Parks, but it made me sort of think, okay, I've got to look a little bit deeper into their recruitment. So I had a little look at it, but, you know, I don't claim to be an expert of National League One rugby. I'm just very keen and really enjoy it, and I'm learning as I go along. So I had to sort of dive in and research a few more of the players. So I said, I said to him, I record this the day before they announced their squad, which is annoying. And I said, you know, I'll take your word for it. I'll have to do a bit more research. And he responded with that saying, you both have strong squads though. My top 3 teams for the end of the season in Nat 1 are going to be Albion, Rosslyn Park and London Scottish. And he's not sure which order. So again, someone stating London Scottish. So it got me thinking, oh, okay, I've got to dive in a bit deeper at those as well. And then another familiar name amongst Plymouth Albion fans, James Shanahan. So former player and former DOR of Plymouth Albion, who is now DOR of Bury and St Edmunds, who have just recently got promoted into National League One. He sent me a message responding to my video saying he predicts Plymouth Albion first, Sale second, Rosslyn Park third, London Scottish fourth, then Rams fifth. So a person who's predicting Sale to do really well, which so that's another complete curveball. And another one who's identifying and Rosslyn Park have done really well. Another just throwing London Scottish in there. So interesting that both aren't mentioning Cambridge, which I sort of kind of went into detail about that last week. But again, it got me thinking about Sale, and Sale have announced a few signings this week, which I'll have a little look at as well. And I also had one fan, I haven't got his name here actually, messaged me saying, not Camborne then, which I responded to saying, who? And he said, you know, the team with the guy who still plays international rugby and won the Prem 3 years ago, lol. So he's obviously talking about Sam Matavesi. I actually had a few Camborne fans message me going, well, what about a Camborne? What about Camborne? I think the Camborne fans don't quite realise how much of a jump up it's going to be. And that, so actually at the game, I mentioned Iwan Jenkins was on the sideline. He was doing like water boy duties or whatnot. Most overqualified water boy person I've ever seen. But chatting to him, he was saying that Albion a week ago had a behind closed doors game against Barnstable, who are only the division below Plymouth Albion. And he just said that Albion, when they were just really on it, were just like a jump above. And also Jenkins was just saying just what quality team we've got this season. But yeah, it's a big jump up from that league to Nat 1. And I'm going to go into more detail actually of how strong I think National League One's going to be this season. But yeah, I think Camborne are going to be in for a little bit of a shock. I don't think they're going to go down because I think actually that home advantage will be key. But just having Sam Matavesi isn't going to, make you title contenders. I know you've recruited Fraser Honey as well, but it's for me, there's just not going to be enough. But isn't it cool, actually? We've got 2 head coaches or 2 TORs of Nat 1 teams commenting on all this. It's clearly a lot of excitement about it. But just, yeah, having a little dive back into the teams then. So Albion are looking great. We're still recruiting. Wouldn't be surprised if some chief lads come in as well. But London Scottish, and yeah, actually, again, from Jenkins did say that he thinks London Scottish and Rosslyn Park are going to be the 2 teams to really watch out for, which means Albion's first month is going to be really, really interesting. So just a reminder, Albion's first game of the season is away to Rosslyn Park, then they're away to Camborne, then they're home to Sheffield, then away to London Scottish. So that first month for Albion is going to be huge. So London Scottish, diving a bit deeper into their recruitment. So a few people I did miss out is actually they've signed a lad called Will Butler, centre from Gloucester. He was featuring for Gloucester in the Prem last season. So that coming down to Nat 1 is quite a big drop. So that's a very important signing, that's for sure. And I did miss that one off. And then they've got a few other guys. So Will Rigglesford from the Cornish Pirates of the Championship, and also Tom Golder, who was second row from the Worcester Warriors, who also won the championship, and Douglas McGregor Smith, featured for Doncaster Knights and the Armed Forces in the champ as well. So actually, they've got some champ players there. They've lost 1 or 2 players, but they have recruited there again. I'm still wanting to see London Scottish, but the fact that so many people are mentioning that they're going to be one of the teams to watch out for makes me think you've got to believe these people. They're way more qualified than me. So yeah, they've recruited lots of young players, new head coach. They're worth following on social media because I put lots of videos out, but they're clearly a team to watch out for. And actually, signing someone who's a Prem player last season for Gloucester, that's going to be a really key and interesting player to watch. I don't know much about Will Butler, but that is a key player to watch. Diving into Rosslyn Park then. Yeah. Okay. So when I mentioned the other week that Plymouth Albion have done the best Nat 1 recruitment ever, I think the next day Rosslyn Park really topped this. Okay. I'm looking at this recruitment and it's petrifying. Okay, so the one that really stands out for me, a lad called Rory Jennings, fly half / centre, signed from the Cardiff Blues. He made 26 appearances for the Cardiff Blues in all competitions last season. So we're playing in the United Rugby Championship and also featured in Europe. He wasn't on the bench, he was an established player, featured 26 times, and he's a key position. So you can play at centre or you can play a fly half. That's a hell of a signing for a Nat 1 club. So I don't know where that's come from, but that is a heck of a signing. You can see videos of him online. It looks a seriously quality player. Another player, Josh Barton, fly half / fullback from Amtil in the champ. A couple of seasons ago was named the champ team of the season. So another recruitment. So you're looking at going potentially Josh Barton at fly half, maybe Rory Jennings outside him. That's just 2 players. And then there's more. There are 8 players they have signed from the champ. So players from Doncaster, players from Ealing, players from Bedford Blues, players from Richmond and Scotland. Top players. Then they've got a lock from Rams, an established Nat 1 team. And then, as I've said, Rory Jennings from the URC. So they have got basically a brand new team. And that's on top of the squad they had last season that finished fourth. That really, really scares me as a Plymouth Albion fan. You've got to look at that and go, that's probably the best recruitment that's ever been done at Nat League One. What would go in favour of Albion potentially is actually Albion have got a settled team. You could go to Rossland Park there. That is a lot of recruitment they've done there. It's not easy to get that many players to get settled down. But actually, again, you could go lots of competition for places. They played a pre-season game away at Esher at the weekend and they won 7-26 and they did not feature all the players. But again, a couple of players that I did find quite interesting. Scrum half Jack Matthews, and I saw a few little clips of him, came through the Leinster Academy and played in the Irish divisions. So again, that could be just one player there who's gone on the radar, not come from a champ team, but just a clever bit of business potentially. So they've got a lot of players to watch out for. Interestingly enough, this Friday, London Scottish are playing Rossland Park in a pre-season game Friday night, 7:45. I'm going to be there. I can't not go to this game. I've got to go there. I'm going to be there. So again, next podcast, guys, I can go into great depth for you guys about what goes on in those games. I cannot wait to see it. But this is going to be one heck of a pre-season game. And then obviously we've got Cornish Pirates versus Plymouth Albion on the Saturday. So a busy weekend coming up for Scrummy Pool. Another team who announced their squad, who I've had a lot of respect for over last season, Tunbridge. So they announced a couple new additions as well. And actually, they retained this as well. So Nathan Earle, who been in England squads and stuff like that, didn't feature too much in the back end of last season because by all accounts fall out with the head coach, who's moved on now to Harlequins. So he was on there. All their big name players from last season who didn't play all the away games are still there. But on top of that, they've made a couple additions as well. So Hamish Murray from Richmond, a tight head prop. And the one that really caught my eye, Harrison Langworthy from Bishop Stortford, a back row player who wasn't in last season's Nat 1 team this season, but the season before that, he was in the team this season. Really good player. And those who listened to Scrummy last season know how much of a fan I was of Bishop Stortford. But that is a really interesting addition there, which just makes you think, okay, they're still going for this. Tunbridge, though, are very guilty of having the worst social media team ever, and whoever looks after their website's awful. So got a bit of a scrummy friend there. So George Merrick, aka The Fridge, who plays at Tunbridge, I had him in my It's Always Scrummy and Plymouth team of the season last season. Dropped him a message just sort of saying, have you been playing pre-season games? And yes, they won heavily against Canterbury over the weekend, something like 50 points to 20 something. He said he wasn't too sure the score. I just said in the message to him, like, you guys have recruited like Harrison Langworthy. Like, are you guys meaning business this season, or because you were a bit sort of hot and cold last season? And he was like, yeah, we genuinely are going to go for this year, and we're hoping to sort of really flirt at that top 3 finish. He was saying probably around about 4th is going to be sort of more realistic if we can keep all the players together. But we do mean business. So they're a team to really watch out for, because actually when they've got their strongest team out, on paper they've possibly got one of the strongest teams in the league. It's just they don't feature in all the away games. But again, a lot of Albion fans last season really turned their nose up at that defeat away at Tunbridge. But I said many times last season, that team at Tunbridge was felt like one of the best teams I saw last season. So they are going to take points off. They're going to be a really interesting team and one to watch out for moving forward. And then lastly, Sale. I've always been a huge fan of them, and they've not really announced many additions. They like a lot of local talent, well coached, bring youth players through from Sale Sharks as well, and just picking players up from local clubs. They announced this week the signing of fly half James Mitchell, who is the brother of England scrum half Alex Mitchell. And he's, from what I'm aware, wasn't playing last season for anyone, but he is. I think he's about 30 years old, 31 maybe. He's a former Connacht player, Sale Sharks players, played for Doncaster. That's an experienced player, and who's going to be playing featurely at fly half with a young team around them. And on top of the signings I mentioned last week, like Andrew Lamb, who's a fullback from Rams, it's going to be really interesting. Like they said, they're still announcing new additions, but having that experienced fly half with such an exciting group of players around them, they were really impressed at the back end of last season. So I'll be watching them closely to see who else they sign going forward. So taking this all in consideration, I have to be really honest with it's all I can do really. Rosslyn Park scare me. Like I'm genuinely petrified. Hence why I'm going to drive up to watch that preseason game against London Scottish. They genuinely really scare me, that recruitment. So in terms of reflecting and actually looking at the scrummy prediction for the season, I'm going to stick with Plymouth Albion winning the league, but that really goes down to actually us keeping certain players fit and actually, hopefully, Albion building their entire team around Iwan Jenkins. So I've got to back the boys, I've got to back the team. I can't just be frightened from one host of a squad. I've got to back the boys. They were settled. We've got fantastic coaches. We've made some great additions. Scrum looked fantastic. Line looked fantastic. Looking forward to seeing them against Cornish Pirates. I'm backing Plymouth Albion to win the league. And then we've got to be then looking at Rosslyn Park. And then I'm going to say London Scottish, just really from voices around me. But I'll be interested to see how this game goes on Friday night. Fourth place, I'm going to be backing the boys, the Rams, from what I said from last season. Fifth, going to go with Sale. I think Sale, maybe with just a bit of a younger team and their loose brand of rugby, could just fall down a little bit. And then in sixth place, I'm going to be predicting Tunbridge. So Cambridge have completely gone out of the picture here. I'm going to say Cambridge in seventh. Again, maybe I've missed something. But hopefully, guys, hopefully you are getting the picture that this Nat 1 season is going to be absolutely epic. The league this season is going to be much higher quality than last year. Last year's Nat 1 had that epic, fight for first place with Blackheath, Rotherham and Plymouth Albion. But actually you're seeing a completely stronger top half of the league. And on top of all that, I thought Leeds were really good at the back end of last season, so they're ones to watch out. Bishop Stortford were a good team to watch out for. Camborne going to be a bit of an unknown really as well, but we'll see moving forward. But hopefully, guys, you get the picture. Nat 1 this season. That new relegation promotion thing with the playoffs is really, it looks like it's made teams really believe that they can go for it and actually get promotion. So it's going to be fascinating. That is all from this episode of It's Always Scrummy and Plymouth. Thanks again, guys, for listening. A bit of a short episode this week. I say that, I think anything was shorter than last week's episode. Last week was 1 hour, 12 minutes, I believe. But much more food to think about. Hopefully you see as many of you down the Brickfields this coming Saturday against the Cornish Pirates. If you're planning to go along, bring your friends along. It should be an absolutely fantastic afternoon of rugby. And guys, if you see me there, feel free to say hello. Love chatting to you guys. Love chatting about the league. I'm really looking forward to the league season coming up. And also, don't forget, actually, so Cornish Pirates this Saturday, then it's Wednesday, the following Wednesday, there will be a home to Exeter University. So much to look forward to before the season gets going. Again, if you're not already, guys, follow on the socials. Give us a review on the socials as well, please, or on the podcast. Leave a review. That's how this word of mouth gets around. And really appreciate all your support, guys. Really looking forward to the season ahead, and hopefully you guys are as well. And most important of all, guys, make sure you are keeping it green, make sure you keep it cherry, and you keep it white. I'll be out.